Today we take a look at auto parts and Tesla. The area seems mundane, but there have been owners that have taken as long as 8 months to get parts for their vehicles post-accidents, etc. And after some information provided by the former head of manufacturing from Tesla, we take a look at a fresh look at this area. Greetings, this is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Bonjour, wie geht's, Strasvice, French, German, Russian. Today's talk focuses on auto parts of all things. So there's been a mystery that's been rolling along for me in the auto parts area on Tesla for quite a while. The core of this mystery has, let's say, 4 elements. One element is the fact that I had a chance to take a look at the Model X maybe 6 months ago, and I noticed that the structure of the Model X seats, particularly in the rear seating, was really inflexible. It looked cool in terms of how it was structured, but I thought the flexibility was really lacking. So I did a piece on it, and I was kind of shocked to go back 2 months later to find that the rear of the vehicle had been reconfigured, and I think reconfigured in many ways that were beneficial to all the owners. So I was really impressed by the fact that bitching owners could influence what Tesla was up to in terms of change of structure, and I think that this is one of the hallmarks of a good company, and therefore Tesla gets credit for doing so. After seeing this, I ended up continuing to do research on Tesla and came across a story in Wired where the former head of manufacturing for Tesla, who's now a venture capitalist, was talking about his experience as an executive at Tesla and the fact that Tesla is really into vertical integration, and part of the vertical integration process is that when you look at a traditional company, they build a vehicle and then every 3 years or so there's a major update or change, and that brings the vehicle forward to its next iteration. What he was saying is that, one company that really comes to mind in this regard is with GM. They're only 15 to 20% vertically integrated. So what that means then is that most of the suppliers of parts to their factories are coming from outside of GM. So he pointed out that what's interesting is that most of the time, in order to make changes to something that's within a vehicle, there's a need to get on a plane to get there to interface with the vendor who provides that part. And that's sort of the case with other entities. Because Tesla's 80% vertically integrated, they really pride themselves on the fact that if they see something and they think it could be done better, or there's new developments in that arena, they're all about making sort of instant changes where they will actually go in and redo, rebuild, make a new part right away and start installing it and possibly bringing all the vehicles back in on warranty and replacing that part. One quick example that comes to mind is after Tesla's, I think, caught on fire from an object flying up from underneath it, the decision was made to put a titanium plate beneath the batteries, and they brought in all the Model S's and made that change at great cost to Tesla, but they thought it improved the safety of their vehicle, so they did it. What kind of got to me, though, after I read this article is that he pointed out that because of the change process that Tesla engages in, there's a phenomenon where you have very few cars that are the same vehicle because there are constant changes being made to their cars. So what he pointed out is one of the only ways to determine which car and what parts are in there is by looking at the VIN numbers, because the VIN number is associated with what parts went into the car. This brought up an interesting question to me because about a year ago I was doing some research online, and there's multiple people who talk about long delays in getting their vehicles repaired after accidents. And this parts change sort of gave me an answer to that question of why is it taking so long to repair stuff even if it's fairly minor on a Tesla? And the fact that you have so many different cars out there with so many different parts means that it's possible that parts that might be damaged, particularly on older vehicles, may actually not exist in inventory and have to be made brand new because of how fast Tesla is moving forward from old vehicles. So this kind of surprised me because the law, at least when I was doing a lot of car reviews 10 years ago, I thought there were laws on the books that said that you had to keep parts for 10 years for all the vehicles in your inventory. And it turns out that evidently either this was taken away or something to that effect. There are some laws regarding if the car is under warranty, you have to either maintain parts or have an outside vendor be able to provide parts under your warranty agreements. So the 8-year long warranties that Tesla operates under influences parts having to come. It doesn't say how long it might take. It just suggests that they're required to provide parts. So I was kind of intrigued by this because it kind of answered the question, why does it take so long to fix a Tesla? And the answer is that there are constant improvement and changes being made, and it's possible that your part ain't in inventory and it has to be made by scratch, and there's no outside vendors that provide it. So you're waiting behind a lot of other people that might be in the same situations or cars that are brand new that need stuff. I was also intrigued because Tesla's solution to this parts challenge at their repair shops was to increase the number of repair shops. But I just thought that didn't make any sense because you just have more shops, you know, that are trying to ask for different parts that don't exist in inventory. I'm intrigued because I think that, particularly when we get to the Model 3, Tesla is going to have to change plans, because when you have 500,000 vehicles going out there, it's going to be a good situation because there'll be secondary vendors that will start making those parts because there are enough cars that might need repair work of that type, be it external body panels, etc., if you just look at general things that accidents require repair on. But nonetheless, when you're 80% vertical, that means there's nobody else making those parts. So I think this is an interesting question that's lurking is, you know, what is Tesla going to do about parts going forward? And especially if they're making the decision to do a lot of sort of on the fly, maybe once a month, every couple of months changes to parts that are already in their vehicles. So I think it's an interesting sidebar note of something to think about. I call it a parts nightmare for customers, but it is kind of good because they are improving the vehicles constantly. And when you see a vehicle that might have the same external body as an S, but the S that you're seeing is way different than the previous S. So across all the things that Tesla does, they're actually doing improvements to make it a better car by improving those parts. This further brought up a question that I've been wondering for a long time. I'm a fan of the Honda NSX, and one of the things that's been done and that I thought was really interesting is that at 10 or 12-year intervals, people of the initial owners of the initial NSX were shipping them to Japan so that the car could be combed through and all the new sort of manufactured stuff that had been updated on the vehicle could be installed. So from a luxury standpoint, I really think that it wouldn't be a bad move if you had the money to have your car shipped in and sort of combed through for parts improvements and then have those purchased and installed on your vehicle. So it is nitpicky, etc., but there are a lot of great engineering decisions that were made for the changes that have occurred on those parts. And while your vehicle may be running well, I think that you're kind of missing out on the vehicle being updated and the benefits of the improvements that go with those updates. Now, I don't have the data to support it, but based on what I've been seeing happen with the 21.7 battery and the discussions that Tesla has been having about how the battery packs work, if you love your Model 3 or Model X, you may even, the X probably not, but with the 3s, I would say that definitely if your vehicle is more than 2 or 3 years old, you know, the nature of the battery packs will have changed pretty decently. So if you have a middle-aged battery pack, you may even think about possibly having that replaced. It's pricey, but I think that you'll get, you know, 10 to 20% improvement in all the form factors that it represents. So I want to thank you for taking time out to listen here at Tesla Fan Insight once again. Please like and subscribe. I definitely think the whole parts question is an interesting one because Tesla does things differently than other manufacturers. It doesn't make changes every 3 years because they are building most of the car themselves, so it gives them an opportunity to make changes more rapidly. This means new car, better car is being delivered more rapidly than other places, but it also creates headaches because there's no inventory of older parts that you can work off of as you're trying to accomplish things. And I think this is a challenge for owners. Thanks for taking time out. Tschüss, mach's gut, au revoir, lehitraot, choda hafez.